Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. My name is Fraser Waldred, and in this video I would like to tell you about the concept of loving your fate, which is a Stoic idea that you embrace whatever happens to you as good and or meaningful, and you recreate your narrative to fit the situation that you're in, as opposed to resisting the situation and having a narrative that doesn't support your life goals moving forward. I'll give you my own personal examples of how I've used this concept to suffer meaningfully in tough situations, but also to not suffer unnecessarily, which I think is a more important insight. So to not suffer for no reason, essentially. So this has been a mental model that I use to cue myself to not suffer unnecessarily, which is great. And I'm going to lastly add in one of my favorite stories, which is the Odyssey, and how Odysseus, the main character of the story, tries to get back to his kingdom, back to his family, and he has to essentially embrace his fate, both the good, bad, and the ugly within that concept. And I sometimes think of that character and apply it to myself when I'm in situations, either giving advice or when I'm in a personal situation where I feel like fate has worked against me. It's all part of the journey. So within the Stoic concepts, or reverting back with regard to the Stoic concept, the loving your fate is not to say that you should resist what happened to you in the past, but you can reframe it. So if something terrible has occurred to you, if you perceive yourself as being unjustly given something by the gods, let's say, then you should have the opposite opinion of that and go, I'm going to actually lever into this. I'm going to move towards it. And essentially the line is, what's in the way is the way. So if something has pushed you in a certain direction, to not resist that, to go, thank you for that, however you perceive that metaphysically, God or just the world, whatever. You find yourself in a situation you didn't anticipate. You can choose to resist that, and roll upstream essentially and try to claw out of that, or you can be into the art of sailing the boat, and you can sail with the wind as it goes with you. Perfect examples of this would be people who, they have cancer. It changes their life completely. They finish the cancer, and then they come out of that, and they're looking to, start a charity or do something inspirational in that realm. I don't think that when they were, 10 years old, they thought that that's what they were going to do when they grew up. But when they're 30 and have that, that health scare, they lean into it. They love their fate, as opposed to being like, I'm a victim of this. I'm going to try to get back to some idea in the future, or that I had in the past, rather. I'm going to just take this scenario, I'm going to embrace it, and I'm going to carry on. And this applies to me as well. Like when I was a police officer, for example, I perceived myself as able-bodied, I could run around and chase people. I ended up having 2 back surgeries, and by the second back surgery, I was essentially completely disabled. And for a month I was bedridden. For 6 months, let's say, I could only walk, 30 minutes in a day. And it was like ridiculous. Like I would go to work because I was stupid, and I would go out and I'd stand 12-hour shift. I'd stand the whole day, and after every 30 to 45 minutes I would actually lay underneath my desk. So if you walked in, I had a blow-up mattress. If you walked into my office, you would just see like legs sticking out, and they'd be like, Fraser, like, where are you? And I'd say, oh, just give me a minute, I'm just like doing my 15-minute mandatory lay down. Because if I didn't get that, I'd have terrible sciatica, just brutal situation. And I resisted that for a while. Like it was painful for me, like it was emotionally painful, because I perceived myself as like able-bodied, and I had more muscles then, and they were wasting away, and I was just like, oh, I'm losing all these gains, like in my mind. So I had the choice to either let that implode me, or I could pivot. And I had a sense of self-acceptance, and this is where the Odyssey comes in. I saw that Odysseus, for example, maneuver over his long journey back to his homeland, had many mistakes, many ill-fated tragedies awaited him. He was silly in some situations, courageous in others. Sometimes he was morally imperfect. But in each situation, one of the core things of the story, in each situation, he kind of learns from it, he gets better. And although the course sends him back years sometimes in certain situations, he just keeps grinding towards his end vision, wherever that is, which of course in this case is to get back home. But in my life, so sometimes I think, oh, my life it's an odyssey. It's not supposed to be one linear path. It's this long, winding, sometimes I'm going, as I perceive it, backwards. But a better way to perceive it is that, I'm into the art of sailing. I'm letting fate take me a little bit, and I'm taking responsibility for the moment, not the past, but I'm taking responsibility for the moment, putting my best input in, whatever that is, whatever that means to me, whatever that means to you. And then from there, I'm letting fate sort of take its course. I'm letting the output take care of itself, because I know I don't control the outcome. I can't control if I had a back injury. I can't control if I get sick. I can't control who leaves me, who loves me, or who wants to be with me, but I can control my input. And in that case, I feel like Odysseus in some capacity, because when I'm maneuvering through space and, like something happens, like I break my foot, or like I broke my hand playing like flag football like a couple years ago. I was like, oh, this is so terrible. But I thought, no, I'm going to lean into this. And, like I turned it into a win in my mind, right? It doesn't have to be a win necessarily. If you were to do the math on it, like, if you lose money on a stock trade or you bet on the wrong team for the Super Bowl. But again, the point is that you can reframe each situation as this as a beautiful tapestry of your life, where you constantly overcome things, you take responsibility for them once you've had the event occur to you, and then you reframe things from bad to meaningful. It doesn't have to be happiness either. That's a key thing. I think happiness is vapid. Happiness is a feeling that emerges when, you eat chocolate or something like that, or you're on like a roller coaster. I'm happy, I'm excited. But meaningfulness, I think, is far longer lasting. And an example of that is, like, let's say you're a soldier in Ukraine, you're defending your country. That might not be a happy time during life, but I guarantee it's meaningful, because the work you're doing, you're working for the brother and sister beside you, but you're also looking to defend your homeland, defend your country. Like, it's a very meaningful work. And I have connections in that realm, and people will report that back to me in their own words, of course. So again, it's the Odyssey. Most people didn't think they'd find themselves in a war zone, or they didn't think they'd find themselves maybe in poverty, or they didn't think they'd find themselves in sickness, etc. But this is all part of the long journey of life. And it even comes when it's things that those are things you can't control, but there are also all things that, for example, like you make a mistake at work, you get fired, you do something stupid, you do something morally bankrupt, like you cheat or you commit a crime, you go to jail. As a police officer, I meet with people like that all the time, who had done lots of bad things or had done things where I was arresting them. And the people who did the best in those scenarios, and this is the God's honest truth, is if the people who I arrested, for example, especially for like bad things like assaults, like maybe of all different kinds, if you can use your imagination, if they didn't own it, if they didn't accept that what they'd done was wrong, you can see it eating themselves, right? Sometimes I'd be like the prison guard, I'd watch them on the CCTV, or I'd have to interview them, and the body language was just like, I don't want to do it, I'll be out of the camera, but like, it's like they're like combusting, because their conscience isn't clean, their soul is impure, right? They know they've done something bad, and they're just eating it, and they're not turning it into a meaningful event to lean forward into it. They're not being like Odysseus, where he makes a mistake, owns the mistake, is courageous enough to move forward and continue on his life's journey, even if it's up and down and left and right. He doesn't go with the flow. He doesn't go with the wind. He's trying to row upstream. You just can't do that when you've done something morally wrong based on your own mathematics. But the people who did do that, they'd say, you know what? I stole that chocolate bar. I hit that person. I stole this car, or I did a homicide, etc. On the rare occasion where people told me in the interview, I own this, I take responsibility, it's my bad, I own it, no one else, and I'm going to turn this into a win, like motherfucker, like that kind of intensity. You could see them, they're like, the breath is out. And this is why, for example, in interviews with, for example, like in homicides, like extreme crimes, one of the techniques the police will do is to create pressure of like the lie, the in a nice way, of course, and legal and everything. They create this psychological pressure to say, hey, we know you're lying, and you'll feel way better when you tell the truth. And that's actually true. It's actually like cathartic. It's like you tell the truth, you'll go to jail for a long time, but you'll feel better. Your soul will be pure, your conscience will be clean, because you've owned it, you've done the terrible deed, and now you're gonna take responsibility for the journey as it moves forward. And so I've seen that live, where people like they break down, they're in tears, like but you can feel the lightness in their conversation afterwards, the way they hold themselves, the burden's been relieved, and they're on their own personal Odyssey. And so I think of that often, especially when people have friends or family or whoever have made mistakes. If you own it, if you eat it, if you love your fate as opposed to resist it, then you'll have a better outcome moving forward for sure. And your mind will be clear, and you'll probably be more effective on your journey wherever you end up wanting to go. So that's it. It's a couple ideas thrown in there together. But the key thing is, I think you got to love your fate. You got to love the situation you're in. It's a better better choice to make, and choice is the key word, I'm using that specifically. It's a better choice to love your fate where it is right now and to resist it and suffer unnecessarily. So don't suffer more than you need to. Own that. It can be your story in the future, and it can be a good story that other people want to hear, because it's just as important to make mistakes and tell people about it than it is to do the right things too. I learned just as much from people who have made lots of mistakes, because what not to do is as important as what to do. So even if you do make a mistake, I would say it's your obligation to me and to the wider community for you to own that mistake, tell everyone about it, and give us that information back so we don't make the same mistakes ourselves. And that's how you can make your life an Odyssey, a story worth telling, just like the epic poem by Homer, which I recommend. So that's it. I hope that's useful. I don't know. Let me know if I've made any mistakes here. If there's something I can improve, or if you have a question, let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you.